As ordinary as a simple image may seem, they can sometimes evoke a series of questions and send shivers down your spine. These photos are often caught in a moment of innocence, only for the horrors to be realized upon review. Number 10. You see that indiscernible dot right there? It may not look like much, but that's actually a Sasquatch. At least this is what Miles Lamont from Canada alleged when posting this video to YouTube. The footage from which this screen grab was taken is said to be a Bigfoot creature making its way up a snowy slope. Miles had been hiking in the Tantalus Range near Squamish, British Columbia in 2012 when he saw this strange dot walking in the middle of nowhere, trudging through the snow. Miles wondered why, if the creature were actually a human, it would be heading up to the ridge like that and not just going straight down. The man and his hiking friends guessed that there were at least 7,000 feet up and seemed confused as to how this person would just be scampering up snow lines so effortlessly without any gear. Some have suggested that this is actually just a bear positioned upright against a slope, but many enthusiasts point to an alternative answer, a Sasquatch. There have been some notable Sasquatch sightings near towns like Harrison Hot Springs, dating back to 1900. The Sasquatch, Bigfoot, Yeti, or Wild Man of the Snows are hairy bipedal creatures that have an ape-like appearance. Their existence has been disputed for ages, but their sightings are pretty regular. The legend came about in 1958 when the journalist Andrew Gonzoli of the Humboldt Times highlighted a letter from readers regarding loggers in Northern California who discovered large footprints. The letter was published to the newspaper in jest, but to Gonzoli's surprise, readers became fascinated with the subject, and the legend of Bigfoot was born. The story spread across the country, drawing intrigue from many. A TV show called Truth or Consequences was also on the air at the time and offered up $1,000 to anybody who could prove the creature's existence, hence the subsequent photographs, sightings, and other possible evidence. Once the story had done the rounds, the Sasquatch would become a symbol of men's adventure magazines and used in pseudo-documentaries in the 70s. When the 80s came around, the odd creature showed a kinder side, was used as a symbol of environmentalism, and was portrayed as a friendly beast in Harry and the Hendersons. Sightings of this cryptid have continued despite pushback from many skeptics. Photographic, video, and DNA evidence all point to the existence of Bigfoot, the Yeti, Old Yellowtop, and other ape-like humanoids. In 2012, an individual named Kelsey Charlie reportedly saw not one but two of these beasts drinking from Harrison Lake. It was dusk at the time, and the sighting certainly made the man's hair stand on end. It wasn't until some time later that he revealed this encounter, concerned that he would be faced with derision. But as Charlie's grandfather used to say, seeing a Sasquatch is a blessing, and it's considered a sign of good luck. Number 9. Who's a good boy? Well, probably not the Michigan Dog Man, which is alleged to be the beast we see in this photograph. The creature is known by other names such as the simple Dog Man or mysterious, mythical werewolf that's said to be haunting Michigan. This image is not the one that bore the legend of the beast because its history actually goes further back. The first sighting was said to have been documented in Wexford County back in 1887. According to the report, 2 lumberjacks had seen it. They depicted the beast as a dog with a man's body. Another story came about in 1938 when a fisherman, Robert Fortney, was fishing along the Muskegon River in Paris, Michigan, when he was attacked by 5 dogs, one of which could stand up on its hind legs. He used his firearm to scare them off, but the one hound did nothing except stand up on its hind legs and glare at the man. During the 1950s, Allegan County saw more reports of the wild animal haunting the residents. In the 1960s, people of Manistee and Cross Village also encountered the Dogman. The creature really gained popularity in 1987 when a disc jockey, Steve Cook, recorded a song about the being in the sightings. The song was called The Legend. It was initially played as an April Fool's joke, but the song was based on actual animal accounts. After the song did the rounds, though, Cook began to receive calls from listeners who detailed seeing the similar cryptid. Over a few years, he would go on to receive over 100 reports of the Dogman's existence, and in 2010, it was featured on an episode of Monster Quest. The songwriter began adding more verses to the song, following the 1997 report that the canine had broke into a cabin in Luther. The song was re-recorded in 2007, this time adding the mandolin in the background. According to different accounts, the creature is said to be 7 feet tall, sporting the head of a hound with blue or amber eyes and the torso of a man. Its howl is said to sound like a human scream. Notice how most of the sightings have occurred in years ending in the number 7? According to the tale, this is because the human-dog creature appears to humans every 10 years, when the cycle falls on a year ending in 7. Rachel Clark and the Michigan History Center also stepped through the history of this legendary beast. She discovered that most of the sightings in earlier reports were usually found in the woods where men had been working or near logging camps. The creature is often seen on isolated roads or in forested areas, according to Clark. She also detailed that it's incredibly agile, is known to jump in front of cars and even scratch open tents and houses. Strangely though, Clark is reluctant to confirm or deny these reports. It is noted that the forests of Michigan are known for their diverse wildlife, so it wouldn't be surprising if the forests are housing the more abrasive sort. She also referred to reports of large cats being seen around Michigan, which were often dismissed, and now they receive calls of cougars in the area. In a comforting closing statement, she said, quote, "I'm not saying there's a dog man that's going to show up. However, who knows what's living in the forests of Michigan." Number 8. In the largest town of East Iceland lies an immense body of water, Lake Lagerflöt. The water running into the lake is supplied by a nearby glacier, which also gives it its grayish tone. The lake measures 2.5 kilometers wide and is often mistaken as a river for this reason. It's known for its beautiful view, perfect picnic spots, calming atmosphere, and fish population. But no lake is complete without its very own monster. In this case, it's the Lagerflöt worm. The creature is mentioned in a short poem, saying, quote, "The worm now heaved its ugly hump above the lake and shook its rump. 28 yards as plain to tell as the number of portals into hell." Many accounts of the animal agree that it looks like a giant serpent that wanders the lakes, rivers, and other bodies of water. Not everyone agrees on its origins though, and there are various explanations offered regarding this aspect. Some think that the supposed worm is a result of natural gases rising to the surface, causing turbulence in the water. This cryptid was captured on video, from which this image resulted. Some suggest that it's nothing more than a varying current, refracted light, or ice traveling through the water. According to the legends though, the Lagerflöt worm had once been nothing more than a small worm. The folklore tells of a woman who lived on a farm near Lake Lagerflöt with her adult daughter, to whom she'd given a gold ring. When the daughter asked how she could profit from it, the mother told her to place it under a heathworm. The daughter did just that and placed the object and the worm in a coffer. A few days passed and the daughter checked in on the creature, which had grown so much that it could no longer fit inside the coffer. The girl was frightened and tossed the worm into the lake, and not long after that, people began seeing a serpent there on various occasions. The tale states that the worm destroyed any person or animal that crossed the lake, and even spouted poison. 2 Finns were called in to deal with the treacherous beast, but when they failed, the worm lived on. The video of the mysterious water-dwelling serpent surfaced in 2012. It was taken by a farmer, and the shaky footage was taken from the shore of the lake, and seems to show the strange mythical being making its way through the water, seemingly towards the person filming. The video quickly gained more than 5 million views and even made world news, but many of course believed that this was no monster. Some theories came into play, one of which explained that it was nothing more than a rope coated in ice shards being dragged through the water. But this is the most recent of accounts of the Lagerflöt worm, with earlier sightings dating back to 1861. It was the year that travelers had seen a serpent creature swimming in the lake. Then in 1967, employees from a forestry station found the animal heading upstream and followed it by car. They stopped at the forest edge to watch the creature disappear into the river. Another sighting came in 1998 when a teacher and her students looked out of the windows of a school. There are many accounts of this monster and other enigmatic beasts swimming in Icelandic lakes. The 2012 video footage and the image that resulted from it remain an enduring mystery as many try to figure out what it is, where it came from, and if it's the mythical loggerfloat worm that poisons people and other beings that cross its path. Number 7. Are we living in a world parallel to an alien universe? This is what many people think, and they've got a whole lot of evidence to support the idea, from UFO sightings to aliens captured on camera. Sometimes the reports are deemed as nothing more than hoaxes and tricks, but as we know, recently the government has released a little secret. The secret is that some unexplained things are happening in our skies. UFOs have been reported for ages, with the most well-known occurrence taking place in 1947. These unexplained flying objects are often accredited to aliens as a means of transportation. They're known to abduct people or animals and perform tests on them for unknown reasons. Such events have been recorded time and time again, leaving us with some enduring mysteries. But some people were made to feel crazy and even taken away to asylums following their allegations. And now the government has finally admitted that something could be going on, something that might be an international threat. Here we see the Calvin photograph, which is thought to be the clearest UFO image taken in the UK. On the 4th of August in 1990, some hikers captured this enigmatic picture. They were near Calvin in Scotland when this diamond-shaped object hovered above them. But for 32 years, this image disappeared from public view, which made it a source of speculation, myth, and conspiracy. Luckily, though, it would reappear once more, following the extensive efforts of British journalist David Clarke. Clarke dedicated 13 years of his life to research. He discovered that a former Royal Air Force press officer, Craig Lindsay, held a copy of the last original print of the Calvin photograph, waiting for someone to ask about it. According to Clarke's research, there were 6 hikers present that day. They saw a diamond-shaped craft hovering in the sky, and just behind it was a fighter jet making its way past the enigmatic object. 2 of the hikers reportedly took the photo to Scotland's Daily Record newspaper, where it should have been published, but this isn't what happened. Instead, the newspaper handed it over to the British Ministry of Defence, where it was kept a secret. It was found that the image was passed off to the press officer, Lindsay, who then handed it over to the Ministry of Defence. When asked to obtain the negatives, Lindsay did precisely that, and also handed them over to the ministry, and the evidence would subsequently vanish for 32 years. Furthermore, the identity of the 2 hikers is being kept under wraps until 2072. The press officer was convinced of the image's authenticity, and Clarke admitted that it is certainly one of the best UFO pictures out there, but he doesn't think it's of alien origin. He explained that he thinks the objects we see here are from a secret hangar of man-made origin that's been placed onto the secret list and remains a sensitive piece of information that no one is supposed to know about or see. Number 6. Meet the Yahoi. The Yahoi is another Bigfoot-like cryptid that lurks in the woodland regions of Australia, terrifying the residents. His legend begins with the Aboriginal people of Australia who inhabited the Queensland area. According to their claims, they coexisted with this strange beast, but it attacked them on more than one occasion. There are apparently 2 different types of Yahoi out there. One of them can grow to a height of 10 feet, while the other grows no more than 5 feet. It has a similar appearance to that of the legendary Sasquatch, with ape-like features and orange hair that can grow 4 inches long. According to the stories, this animal is primarily shy, but can become suddenly violent, as we saw with the tribe. While many doubt the existence of this creature, some cave drawings depict a hairy, tall animal living alongside humans. Some think that this may be an indication of one of the earlier hominids that has since gone extinct. There have been various sightings of the Yahoi, one of which gave us this image. One sighting dates all the way back to 1842. According to this written account, it said that the natives of Australia believe in a creature resembling a man with long white hair that drapes over his head. The report detailed that it has long arms and great talons with backward feet. Altogether, the beast was described as a great monster, with the character and appearance of an ape. In the 1880s, a naturalist, Henry James McCooey, had seen it in New South Wales, but it was only 5 feet tall, without a tail, and had long black hair. Descriptions of the Yahoi have varied over time, but the overall idea remains consistent. All these past accounts eventually bring us to the modern-day sightings. Sightings that would produce such mysterious photographs. One man, Dean Harrison, who's part of the Australian Yahoi research, stated that he was among the hundreds of people who claimed to have seen the beast. When he encountered it, he knew he had to move, and when he did that, the shy creature let out a roar. It was a life-changing experience for Harrison. One Yahoi hunter, Steve Piper, managed to grab a video of the cryptid as it made its way through a forested area in 2000. This video has also achieved notoriety among other enthusiasts, just like the Patterson-Gimlin film of Bigfoot. We then stumble across the sighting of the beast that occurred just 3 years ago. In 2021, Sterling Slowcock Bennett had seen the cryptid ambling along. He was accompanied by 2 other men, one of which was Seamus Fitzgerald. The 3 men had been en route to the Jimna base camp when they encountered the slouched figure under a streetlight. Fitzgerald detailed it as an ape-like being with long arms, initially mistaking it for a boar. But there are more variations of the Yahoi aside from height differences. According to the report, a Yahoi pushed a woman down a hill. She was from Cairns and in her early 20s when she climbed up Red Hill in Wurree, Queensland. She initially thought that a man in a gorilla costume was approaching her, but this idea would soon change. There was something different about this Yahoi though. It was covered in red hair. Her ordeal had even been recorded, and the picture we see here is from that video. The woman explained that she looked at the top of the hill and started to notice a human-like figure. The Yahoi was looking at a man who was ahead of her on the walk as she came out onto the track. She carried on walking for a few strides before the beast whacked her in the back, sending her tumbling downhill. Long grass broke her fall, and when she reached the bottom, the woman jumped the fence and dashed back to her car. Number 5. Sea serpents, the legendary marine animals, make up a section of various mythologies belonging to multiple creatures. It's said to resemble a vast snake that inhabited the deep waters. Sightings, drawings, stories, and paintings of such beasts can be found strung together throughout the ancient world. Oddly, the sea serpent can also be found in the Old Testament, where allusions are made to a conflict between God and a monstrous animal called Leviathan or Rahab. Throughout history, there have been many stories and sightings coming about, referring to water-dwelling monsters. For example, the Loch Ness Monster is one of the most well-known of these kinds, and is part of Scotland's legends. Then we have the sea monster spotted in eastern Anatolia's Lake Van, dubbed the Vangolu Canavan. We see a similar beast in Sweden, and Patagonia's plesiosaur-like cryptid. Not to mention Ogopogo of Okanogan Lake, the Flathead Lake Monster, the Mempher Monster, and Tahoe Tessie. It's uncertain whether or not these creatures are the same being, relatives, or just undiscovered elusive aquatic creatures. With so many sightings of similar-looking water dwellers, it comes as no surprise that a Nessie-like beast made its way to Thames. For lack of a better name, the creature was dubbed the Thames River Monster, and captured on video, gaining over 500,000 plays and drawing in 190 comments. It was from that video that this image was grabbed. Some sort of a serpent-like body can be seen protruding from the Thames River in the O2 Arena. It surfaces for a bit before sinking again. It's speculated that the creature was somewhere between 30 to 170 feet in length. The sighting was made by Penn Plate, who was traveling on the Emirates airline, the cable car near Greenwich that offers views of the area. Plate explained that he'd been in the cable car when he saw something of immense size making its way through the water and briefly surfacing. He wondered if it was a whale or even some kind of strange-looking submarine. Some even suggested that it was another mythical creature, Godzilla, or even Nessie. After making its way onto Twitter, one person downplayed the theory that it was a Loch Ness Monster, using the logic that it couldn't have swam all the way from Loch Lomond to the Thames River without being spotted on its journey. Over the years, some sea creatures have been found to wander into the river occasionally, such as dolphins, seals, and porpoises. There have also been a few occurrences where whales accidentally found their way into the area after being attracted to the increased number of fish, according to a survey that the Zoological Society of London conducted. The video was later featured in The Guardian, as well as other news outlets, and many wondered what the mysterious creature was. The Time had their say as well, depicting the enigmatic creature as two dolphins or seals swimming together, but the movement didn't quite match that description. They also expressed that the video may be a hoax, as it failed to remain trained on the animal. The uploader also licensed his video to Newsflare. Newsflare is said to sell videos to other media organizations, and a portion of the profit will be directed to the video owner. Whether this is a hoax or some legendary beast will remain a mystery for now. Number 4. We all know the stories of the Sasquatch and its relatives like the Yeti and Bigfoot. These beings take the appearance of human-like creatures with primate features and measure anywhere from 6 to 10 feet tall. They're mainly known in the United States, and sightings of the animals can be found littered throughout the area. For centuries, Bigfoot enthusiasts have tried hunting such beings down and looking for any tiny bit of proof to support the idea that the animal is real. Large, almost human-like footprints have been discovered in the woodland areas from time to time. Different towns and counties each have their own versions of such a beast, but the one most infrequently heard is of Old Yellowtop, which can be seen in this image, where the origin of the name becomes quite obvious. The being has been reported to measure 7 feet tall, resembling a Sasquatch with a big blonde patch on its head and a light mane that drapes around its neck. Several sightings of the creature have been reported around Cobalt, Ontario, Canada. These alleged sightings have occurred over the course of 64 years, with the first one documented in September of 1906, the same year that the town of Cobalt was founded. Another sighting of Old Yellowtop came in 1923 by J.A. Macaulay and Lauren Wilson, two prospectors who'd been taking some samples of their mining claim in the Wettlaufer mine. When they spotted the creature, they initially thought it was a bear feasting on blueberries. The reckless Mr. Wilson decided to throw a stone at it, and the creature stood on its hind legs, let out a growl, and dashed into the darkness. Wilson reported seeing a yellow head on what he thought was a black bear, but no such bear existed. Another sighting came a few years later in 1947, when a woman and her son embarked on a lengthy walk on the railway tracks to do some shopping. It was springtime, and the woman was aware of the bear mothers and their young cubs, which is why she became startled when catching a shadowy glimpse out of the corner of her eye. When she looked at it, she would discover that it was undoubtedly no bear at all, and it wasn't a wolf either. She later described it as a being who walked like a man and was covered in brown hair. The following report came in 1970. This time, it was seen by Amos Latrielle, Larry Cormack, and a few others in a group of 27 miners at the Cobalt Lode mine. They were driving down the road when the creature walked across the street right before their eyes. The driver, Latrielle, had subsequently lost control of the vehicle and the car nearly headed off a cliff. He described the creature as a bipedal animal with light hair reaching the shoulders, outlining a darker fur on the rest of its body. According to the alleged backstory of this photograph, it was captured in 1923, and the photographer was said to have only spotted it later on when reviewing the images of his trip. But there are conflicting ideas as to the origins of the image, with some believing that it was captured in 1978 or 2003. Non-believers discounted the picture and the existence of such a creature, but no one ever stated that the image was doctored or edited. Number 3. Giant sturgeon, whale, misshapen driftwood, Nessie, or a massive sea dragon. These were the ideas thrown around when Alaskan tourists encountered this enigmatic beast. Luckily, they managed to film the ordeal so that they'd have supporting evidence for later when recounting the story to friends, family, and perhaps the local authorities. The perplexing footage and the screen grab that resulted shows some kind of sea monster hanging around in the waters of Alaska. The video starts with the visitors marveling at a collapsing glacier, but they then begin noticing something dark and pointed emerging from the waters. This was followed by another 3 humps making an appearance just a few feet from the spikes. This suggested that the collection was one giant creature. No one is certain about what this animal is precisely, but some incredible theories have come about. Some suggest that this is a monstrous sea dragon, while others think it's something out of this world. And of course, some dubbed the video and images as outright fake. Aside from how the Alaskan tourists came to see the creature, there isn't any other information regarding the animal. No one knows where in Alaska the footage was taken, and none of the witnesses made a public comment regarding it. In total, the animal revealed 7 black fins, with many assuming that it's showing its tail and its front end. The video footage was titled "Bizarre Dragon-like Creature Spotted in Alaskan Lake." It was featured on the Daily Star, a news platform where the beast can be seen slowly making its way from the right-hand side to the left. It didn't try to hide itself either, and seemed undeterred by the presence of the visitors. This even arose after various other claims and footage circulated about other sea monsters lurking in Alaska. One official with the Alaskan Bureau of Land Management videoed another perplexing occurrence in the Chena River, leaving many scratching their heads. Craig McCaw had been at a popular rafting and fishing spot, documenting the change of seasons, when he saw some sort of strange animal, 12 to 15 feet in length, making its way through the river. His initial thought was that it was a rope covered in ice, while others sparked ideas about a giant sturgeon or sea serpents, much like this one spotted by tourists. Then there were the sea monster allegations, once again bringing us back to our spiky friend. It seemed as though Alaska may be harboring some pretty creepy oddities in the deep waters. Neither of the events has found a solution, and all explanations remain nothing more than theories. Could the sea serpent we hear about in ancient mythology actually be real? These animals are finally re-emerging, possibly even due to global warming and climate change. Sightings of the elusive sea serpent and similar monsters have been reported for centuries. Number 2. In recent years, the government has come out with a secret that's been denied for ages. UFOs are real. Well, sort of. Just because they've admitted to seeing flying objects that they can't identify does not mean that there are aliens inside of these objects. But with that newfound information, we can now take a look at all the previous supposed hoaxes and stories that circulated throughout the years. One such apparent hoax was that of the picture photographed by Donald Bromley. The area of Redgate near Deer Lodge, Montana, is a known hotspot for alien activity, where UFOs, lights, and other unexplained things are often seen. Bromley was one such person who witnessed such a sighting. In fact, he captured it on a hunting trail camera. In this image, a blurry gray humanoid creature can be seen. It's this figure that would bring about national attention from paranormal investigators. Initially, Bromley thought it was a person, but the more he looked, the stranger it would become. It just seemed out of place, and it was said to match the alien persona. As seen, the creature has a bulbous head and comes off as a bit transparent. According to the man who captured this enigmatic picture, the area in which this trail camera was placed probably wouldn't have seen a whole lot of human activity, so for this creature to be a person was deemed unlikely. None of the other cameras nearby were triggered either, and they would have been if it was a person walking past, concluding that the alien must have just dropped from the sky. Another resident, Patrick Cutler, was inspired to make a film about Redgate and its horror genre history. Cutler explained that many people driving around this area often see some bizarre things in the sky that appear out of nowhere. He's even heard stories about visitors having their cars randomly stall out for no apparent reason. This curious image came amidst reports from the Pentagon, admitting that there are things in the skies that they're unable to explain. The residents of Redgate, though, have been reporting on odd phenomena for decades, and it's come as no shock that an alien was eventually captured on camera. Montana came in the top 5 for the most UFO sightings per capita. Dr. Michael Masters of Butte, a Montana Tech professor of biological anthropology, wrote a book titled Identified Flying Objects. It's in this book that he suggests that the UFOs and aliens that we rarely catch a glimpse of might be creatures in time machines heading back here to study mankind. This may be what Bromley's alien was on his way to do. He described the humanoid as unclothed and grotesque. To some, it may appear as if the cryptid is carrying something, or as though his alien arms are up in a running position. There's never been any confirmation of what this being truly is, but to many, it is an alien. Number 1. Meet Trunko, South Africa's very own cryptid. It was 1924 when London's Daily Mail blurted out the story of a fish like a polar bear event that took place 2 years prior. They were referring to the events that took place on the south coast of South Africa. According to witnesses, an immense being covered in white fur thrashed around in the water. It bore a long trunk and appeared to be engaged in a battle for its life with 2 orca whales for up to 3 hours. Despite his ability to lift himself some 20 feet out of the water, Trunko's fight proved futile, and sometime later he washed ashore. Upon investigating, as seen in the picture, it seemed to be a sea monster or a polar bear hybrid. It also possessed a lobster-like tail, but didn't have a visible face or head, and the bone structure was unclear. According to the reports, the animal was 50 feet in length. The mysterious carcass rested on the beach for 10 days without being seen by a scientist. Carl Schucker, the author of the 1996 book The Unexplained, nicknamed the creature Trunko, and the name stuck. Since its discovery, the being has been the subject of much debate. Some people, like Schucker, suggest that the furry aquatic beast is a carcass in a stage of decomposition. But the skeptics are, skeptical of this idea. Strangely though, this wasn't the only time that such a creature has been documented. In fact, the earliest event came in 2017 in the Philippines. It was said that the blob of thick hair washed ashore after an earthquake, measuring a 6.7 magnitude, struck. Images of it have gone viral on the internet, with many offering up some plausible and not so plausible suggestions. It was found to weigh around 2,000 kilograms. It was determined that the beast, which some said was a whale, dugong, or a manatee, had been deceased for 2 weeks prior to washing up on the shore, after being fatally struck by a ship. Margate's South Coast Herald newspaper referred back to the incident from 1922 after the recent event. The entire event involving our cryptid Trunko was witnessed by one resident, Hugh Balance. It was on the 1st of November when this man had seen 2 orcas fighting with a sea monster about 1,300 yards offshore. He quickly grabbed his glasses and was astounded to find something of an odd-looking polar bear of mammoth proportions. Balance stated that it was on the shore by the evening, and when morning drew, he headed out to inspect it. He reported that its trunk was 5 feet long and about 14 inches thick, and had a tail on the other end measuring 10 feet. And so those 10 days passed without a proper inspection, and the spring tide carried the creature back into the sea. It would later be said that Trunko was the only globster to have been seen while still alive. This would also discredit the allegation that it was nothing more than a whale carcass or pounds of hairy blubber. Strangely, an elephantine creature has also been the subject of a 1610 artwork sketch. Perhaps these immense creatures lurk in the depths of the ocean, rarely being seen by our human eyes. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked this video, be sure to hit that like button. Also, don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell to keep up to date with all of our future uploads. But my name is Ty Knotts, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.